You're in Connecticut, huh?
Yeah, I'm in Connecticut, and you know what's interesting? I read a little bit about you, and I'm pleased to see that you were interested in boat building because I was brought up that way, and I learned a lot of boat building tricks of the trade from spending summers on the coast of Maine.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, boats are, I was just talking boats about an hour ago. Yeah, I've found building boats, it's trawlers. You don't want pleasure boats because people, the thing about work boats is that they pay their own way. Therefore, people feel like it's an honest business to build work boats. But if you build pleasure boats, or that's been my experience, they think that it's kind of like an addiction, like liquor or something, and that if they don't pay you, in a way, they are striking a blow for the good, honest, and the righteous, and that isn't a good attitude for them to have with my wages.
Well,
Have you been going for work boats? I think there are a lot of, certainly in Connecticut, there are some really fine work boats that come out of there.
Indeed, when all up along the whole original eastern shore of this country, there was just wonderful pockets of boat building talent, wasn't there?
Oh, you read about that. You certainly are. It's pretty exciting. Lately, it seems like, it's the pleasure boats have got things kind of standardized, like a mixture of pleasure boats and speed. Even for the work boats, they want them to go fast. What for? I mean, come on.
Well, they do. It's the problem we had inventing the wheel. It's called quote unquote progress, which sometimes masks other problems, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Some of the best boats came out of the competition between the revenue service and the bootleggers, I think. The bootleggers had plenty of money to spend on boat design and building, and then the government would catch them, and so then they'd start using those new boats. And then the bootleggers, of course, the same unfortunately went for the slavers. The slave trade caused lots of good changes in boat design, making them swift.
Well, for better or worse, it goes back to the almighty dollar, doesn't it?
You're right about that. It's surprising, astonishing how much goes back to that. Just lately, there's a friend of mine that has been involved in church history. Well, he's an Anabaptist. Well, what was the trouble with the Anabaptists was they refused to take an oath. They said, well, Jesus said just yea, yea, nay, nay. I can't pledge my loyalty. I pledge allegiance to this and that and the other thing. But the trouble was that the way the lords of those days, say 1500s, the way those people who were wealthy and powerful, the reason they were wealthy and powerful is because people would take an oath to do what they said. You take an oath of fealty. Now you belonged to that lord, whoever it was. And then here came these Baptists, and they wouldn't take an oath. And what it ended up wasn't theological, but the prejudice against the Baptists was that they ruined the finances and the military power of these people who were trying to enforce their aristocracy and money power on the whole world. Well, I didn't know that before, and here was Jeff. He dug that up. How about that? Damn communist Baptist.
That's a wonderful story, and it goes to show that you can't always look to the dollar. Sometimes that honest way to go is the organic way.
Hey, you're right about that. Now, I mean, slavery the same way. People made out like it was some kind of the superior race raising up the inferior race. Wasn't that a bit? It's all about money.
That's right.
All that higher, went flying up about just about money. If there wasn't money involved, the thing wouldn't have lasted, and the white supremacy wouldn't have lasted.
That's right.
It's pretty interesting, all that.
Well,
and into boat design. Here we are. We've been into boats. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. And what do you? Today's not a good day for the KKK.
No, I guess it's just great. The Southern Poverty Law Center has gone to suing them.
That's right.
Sue them for every penny until they're gone broke. I think it's just smart. It's
Give
so
him,
good. I love it.
give him a tough time.
Yeah.
What do you know about your dad? Was he ever a tramp? Did he ever strike out and tramp around and work in trade for lodging?
Yeah, but except that he would, he both worked, sometimes did harvesting. He was with harvest gangs, and he also did poetry in exchange. You know, he'd come and he'd recite poetry and make poetry for people that he would be spending the night with.
Yes.
What's interesting is that all that group of poets did it for a while. Frost did it, Sandburg did it, all those Midwestern poets. But he got, the name of it stuck to him. But yes, he did that. Definitely, he did it 1908, he did several for some years there.
Good. Yes.
Till about 1912, he was doing that kind of thing. And people would, up until, say, in the 1970s even, I would meet people who said, oh yeah, your father came and worked on our farm.
Ah, yes.
All those summers.
That was a big thing to do in the early part of the century. The more I read about people that did strike out and thumb it around the U.S.
Yeah. What's interesting also is that the people who are marginal literacy would know their poetry by heart, and therefore it made a kind of like Robert of the Service, that kind of poetry that was rhythmic and rhymed and musical. You could dance to it and you could really remember it. So these people knew it by heart, and they were marginally illiterate, but except they had the poetry by heart. That's kind of, I don't know how much it's changed, but it's changed the style of poetry. People are writing poetry now that it's kind of hard to memorize.
Well, it's a bit of a mnemonic aid to add a melody and help you to remember the words that you like. And if you don't have any post-it notes around, or you can't write on them anyway, the best you could do is set it to a little tune to help you remember it.
Amen to that. It does work, doesn't it? Yes.
Sure.
But we used to have a saying on Edisto. On Edisto, the only really good whiskey came from a certain plantation all through slavery days and afterwards, certain community here. And what was ironic is that the plantation was the Presbyterian station for the Presbyterian preacher here. And we're Presbyterians, may God have mercy on us.
Good for you.
So they had to rhyme, you want a whiskey? I go see, we got a man at Parson Lee, because they call the